start the recording then, and we can just go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Alright, so we are playing, just looking at team comps, I'm playing a dive, Zen Brig. Alright, so pretty low healing. The enemy team is coming out with a kind of like half dive, half spam comp there. Alright. Yep. So here I can definitely see the kind of tank mentality that we got into there.
Yeah.
In that we end up for being unaware of our surroundings, and we just kind of follow Diva in without really
Yeah.
checking where everyone else is, right? So
Okay.
on our team, who's gonna be kind of the characters that we're trying to stick with most of the time here?
If I'm playing Zen in the
Mm.
running dive, I will want to stick with Brig.
Yep, Brig
Just because.
especially, Hanzo too maybe a little bit, right? Because they can help us burst down targets. But whenever
Yeah.
we know that they're on a dive, us going off on our own and isolating ourselves is going to be the easiest way to get ourselves killed, right? So we want to make sure that we're
Yeah.
sticking with our team much more often, and Brig can help keep us alive. Here we end up forgetting and not noticing, and we end up dying as a result. So keep in mind as well, the
Yeah.
first thing we're paying attention to each round is team composition, because team comp dictates playstyle. If they're on a spam or a brawl, then our playstyle is completely different than if they're on a dive here, right? We're positioning
Yeah.
different, we're playing differently. So we want to make sure we're coming out, paying attention to that. And here we just end up walking out of position, getting a little too aggressive, right?
Yeah.
The cycle begins anew.
Winston.
Right. So fight's looking pretty lost here. Alright, while we're walking back in here, let's see, we're walking back into a fight. We have 3 people alive. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people alive. Um, at the very minimum, we need to be very hesitant here to get aggressive, though he does kind of like push into us. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, to be honest, this is all right. Though maybe we could have held back, like hung
Hung
back
back. Yeah.
since we knew that we were at a big disadvantage there. But okay, sorry. The other I didn't notice that we also had cap points, so we were
Yeah.
defending
We
there. So I
did.
think that's fine.
Yeah. So it's one of those things like
Yeah.
I knew we were capping points, so I just like at
Yeah.
least I
Mm,
wanted to get at least the orb because like it isn't like the orb stays on somebody
yeah.
3 seconds.
Mm,
Yeah. So
yep.
I was hoping to get that last bit
Yeah.
of healing.
Honestly, not that wasn't too much of a problem once I saw that we had point because we were defending. So going
Yeah.
in there could have gone either way.
Use caution. Hello. Let the dragon consume you. Enemy turret destroyed. By the dragon. Experience nothingness.
I didn't like that trance once I because
Yeah.
like for some reason like I probably happens that I heard the ball behind me and the diva was low, so I just like
Mm.
panic all.
Yeah, just make sure trying to get rid of panics, right? Calm yourself
Yeah.
down. Try to really focus yourself in on the game, and just remind yourself that these are fake internet points, and that the more you panicking, the worse we're gonna be performing. Because obviously, panicking doesn't do anyone good. So
Yeah.
look to remove the panic from your gameplay, because obviously this probably is the best chance because we're only saving one single person with it, and we already have a one-player advantage, right?
Yeah.
So there's probably going to be a situation where we could use trance a little bit better than just popping it right here. So maybe look to hold on to it a little bit more. Yeah, so we do see the ball,
Yeah.
but the other thing is we could have seen, like, we have health to work with, right? We have 200, so
Yeah.
if ball slams us, we just watch your health bar. If we're about to dip too low, then we can ult, right, to keep ourselves alive.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, so I'd like that we get aggressive with it, though. Alright. So far, orbs have been looking pretty solid.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I love playing Zen is that I'm really good when it comes to, like figuring out which
Mm,
person I know to Discord and
yeah.
calling out Discords.
Mm. So far, initial strengths and weaknesses looking like um, maybe awareness, decision making, and positioning. being some of the ones that need a little bit work on. Mechanics and orb ability usage not seeming like too much of a problem at the moment. Though I'm watching right now, I'm just trying to look at some crosshair placement a little bit. Right. I think we maybe might go over crosshair placement. Let's see. Yeah. I want to just see some more shooting before we decide to go over it or not. Alright, so again, pushing a little bit ahead of our team, make sure we're not playing too aggressive, or we are
Yeah.
I think we are the only character in the game without some sort of defensive ability or movement ability. Right? We don't have any way to get away. We don't have any way to heal ourselves. Right? Nothing. We got nada. Right? We are the
Yeah.
easiest target to kill in the game. We gotta rely very heavily on our positioning and make sure that we are playing safe. Here we're a little bit low health. Right? We could back up this way, get to cover. We could go with our team and keep backing up and staying in cover. But we kind of back up to the left and then push forwards when we're low health. So we see there that we got headshot and we're at 40 HP, right? And then we push back forwards, right? So we want to make sure we're paying attention to that so we're not getting picked. As well, I think we're just going to do a quick review on crosshair placement because it's seeming like it might be a little bit off. I think, are you familiar with the term crosshair placement? Yep.
Actually, no. No. Like it's like the closest thing I have to aim is like good Lucio.
Yeah.
It's like Lucio and Ana are the Ana Bap are the only heroes where I have like semi decent aim because you get the most value if you have good aim with this.
Yeah.
And with Zen, like I could feel like I'm getting better, but I know I still have like I need to work on it.
Yeah. All right. So then this will hopefully help you out. So
Yeah,
crosshair placement is essentially placing your crosshair in the best place possible to hit the easiest shots. Using your brain to help your aim. Right. So basically, with one of the big parts of crosshair placement is making sure that you're aiming head level. On characters that can hit headshots, right? On Ana, that's a little bit differently, but on Lucio with Zenyatta, right? Especially Zenyatta, because he's a little bit more of a spammy character than Lucio is. We want to make sure we're aiming head level, because if we're walking around at body level, which I haven't seen us looking too much at the floor, some people do that, right? But when we're walking around aiming body level, then that means that to hit headshots, right, we have to adjust up and to the left or up and to the right, rather than just going left or right, which means that we have to adjust further. And obviously headshots do much more damage, right? And when we're doing more damage, we get kills easier, we secure kills, we do more, we get more ult charge, right? We get more damage, and obviously headshots are better. And when we have to adjust a further distance, we are more likely to miss those headshots, right? So this is going to make it easier to hit headshots, right? And it's also just going to mean, right, like we just said, Zenyatta's a very spammy character, and it means that when we're right-clicking, charging up right clicks or whatever, and we're coming around the corner, if we're just aiming body level, all these shots hit body shots, right? But if we're aiming at head level, right, and we're adjusting up to head level, now we're turning this corner and all these shots are hitting headshots, right? So we want to make sure that we're just keeping our crosshair at head level, and that's going to allow us to hit headshots a lot easier. Now, it's not just about just aiming head level, it's also about putting your crosshair where you know people are going to be at, right? So if we know they're on the left side and they're about to come out of the room, we're pre-aiming at head level, right? Oh, that came out a little bit faster. Just wait a second here. So we know he's coming out. We place across our head level. That means that when he comes out, there's very little adjustment, right? We have to adjust very little, which means that the shot's a lot easier. We know he's on our left, so we're pre-aiming head level, already looking to the left. So we're coming out here, already having our crosshair on his head. Right? Here, we know they're a little bit slanted down, so we're placing crosshair a little bit lower, right? The same way that when you're up against a Torbjorn, we're aiming a little bit lower. We're up against a Reinhardt, we're aiming a little bit up, right? So we have to adjust a little bit whenever we're up against different characters, right? But for the most part, we're going to aim at the same spot. These guys are a little bit on a slant here, so we're coming out. Very little adjustment until we find their head, because we're already aiming in the very general direction. So when we're aiming, just make sure we're keeping it head level. Make sure we're aiming in places where we know people are going to be. Right, and then that's just kind of the basic building blocks of good mechanics. And I started playing the game playing Mercy, and this is my first FPS on PC. And I didn't really have any FPS experience at all. Just little tiny bit on Xbox playing with local player COD or whatever, right? But oh, this is not the right one. My
This is
bad.
not the right one. I was wondering, just like, why on Hanamura? We're supposed to be on the call.
Sorry, the person I was just coaching earlier. We were on Hanamura. All right.
Okay.
So yeah, I played Mercy, right? I placed in.
Okay.
If you weren't aware of this, I placed silver my first season. And I started playing Overwatch, right?
Oh yeah,
So
I was a Hanzo main, and I placed gold and dropped down to silver.
yep.
And when I first started on console, and then at one point I was like plat, and then I just got sick and tired of people not healing me. So I'm just like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna be healer. And then it was during the mock meta, and this was before I knew anything about like main tanks, metas,
Yep.
all those terms, and I was just in the middle of it, and I went from like mid plat to masters in one season.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, I guess I'm a healer now.
Yep. But yeah, like I'm basically completely self-taught when it comes to just aiming. And aim is very learnable. It's not just you. It's not just flat out you have a talent for it, or flat out you just keep practicing. There's thought and ways that you can look to up the speed at which you can learn your aim, especially if you're focusing on crosshair placement. Right, so you
Yeah.
can see here, like, just coming out, aiming at his feet, right, on the Reinhardt, we can see there are some instances, looking at different instances, like, we're aiming not really at his head level there, and you'll just see it. I'll try to point some times out when we come across it, but just in general, it's not a lot of the time. So here, just aggressive again, deaths
Yeah.
are very obviously a big mistake, right? When we die, we no longer get value, but on top of that, it's negative value because now our team's at a disadvantage, and we're gonna have to walk back from spawn, right? And essentially, it's just deaths are bad, right? Whoop-de-doo. So how we can look to self-improve and get better at the game is look at our deaths and go, why did we die? Were we too aggressive? Were we too passive? Were we out of position? Were we too far out in the open? Did we misuse abilities? Did we not use our ultimates, right? There's a ton of different things we can look at, and when we identify that mistake, we can go, okay, well, what should we have done instead, right? And then from there, we look to apply that, right? So that's how you can look to self-improve and get better on your own, is while you're in the middle of the game, go, why did I die? Right? And then look to cut out as many deaths as you can. Cutting out deaths can save you minutes of gameplay time, especially at lower ranks. But for you, you could get up to like a minute of extra gameplay if you just die less, right?
Yeah.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Zenyatta.
All right. I think that's a pretty decent time to use our ultimate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, pretty good. So let's go back to us. Yeah, like they got to a safe position once we were done with it. Alright. I'm gonna take a little bit more of a look at our right clicks here, because don't know if I've seen us using them very often. So I'm gonna just see when and how we're using them.
This is the bad one because I saw the Hanzo climb up, so I thought I was gonna climb again.
Okay. Now this is a habit that you just want to make sure you're getting out of. It's not gonna be. The higher up in ranks you go, it is a lot more important. So a Masters top 4300 is a bad habit to get out of. But honestly, it's not going to be something that's going to get you up hundreds of SR. Just an inconsistency thing is jump spamming, right? When you hold down, and this is going to be a bad habit that comes from playing Lucio, right, where you're jumping all the time. But if you're just holding down your jump button, then the biggest thing is it just means that you're a lot easier to shoot, especially by hit scan characters, right? When you go up, you have to come down. Therefore, it's an easily trackable animation. So just make sure we're not doing this as we jump, 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 right? Just add in a lot of jumps. Just make it a lot easier for you to get shot at. And it means you also lose a little bit of control over your mobility.
The objective is now.
Okay, you can see this up against these two, the crosshair placement on them. So we charge up a right click, look at where crosshair is in comparison to them, right? That just means that we're hitting body shots rather than headshots naturally.
Okay.
Okay, again with our positioning, we're a little bit aggressive on point. Now they don't have as much stuff they can dive us. They just have a ball, but just keep in mind you're a pretty passive character on Zenyatta. You want to make sure that you're sitting more like back towards this. If they're overall all on this side, put some distance in between yourselves and sit a little bit back more towards over here, right? Not sitting on point in the middle of the fight. It's just we've died quite a bit because I think our positioning's been a bit off and our awareness has been a bit off, and we're being very aggressive basically. We want to make sure that we're playing a little bit passive. There are times where we can get aggressive when we have a significant advantage with our team, when we have health, when we have transcendence to maybe back as a last resort to keep ourselves alive, especially when they don't have anything we need to hold on to it for. But in this situation, I'd probably say we wanted to just be a little bit further back looking for spam damage because
Okay.
we're just dying quite a lot just because we're sitting on point here when we could be a little bit further back.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Hold up now. Pain is an excellent teacher.
Alright.
This is unlucky kill right here.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Right clicks. Now I took a look at them. I think they're doing pretty good, honestly. So we do understand right clicks versus left clicks, right? Right clicks
Yeah.
when we can't see someone, left clicks when we can see them. So we're doing fine on that end. I just hadn't been looking at them before. All right.
Yeah.
So why don't we now? I'm gonna take a look at kind of macro stuff. Have you been very in tune? I know that I think that this was a thing that we had a really long time ago, back when you were when you were ringing for us as a team, was like ult tracking and the team. I remember back then, you struggle with it a little bit. There was a time, dude. I
Oh, yeah,
remember there's a
there was a time I joined another team,
Yeah.
and every time I'm on it, like in case when I'm subbed in, I'm always the ult tracker because
Mhm.
I've gotten really good at my instincts when it comes to like not only pre-fight ultimates but mid-fights are really good
Nice.
because like I can not only can I tell you just like, oh, so and so has these like three people have their ultimates, but I can tell when certain people get their ultimates in the middle of a fight.
Mhm.
And so it's like the hard part is communicating to my team. He now has his ultimate. He's about to use it in enough time before he uses it.
Yeah.
A common thing is with Earth Shatter. I know the run has Earth Shatter, so I'm constantly charging up. If I'm playing BAP, I'm constantly charging my jump just in case I have to jump over. And
Yep.
in one game, I think I did like 3 times.
Wow. Right. Well, that's really
Uh,
cool. I remember
yeah.
when you rang for us. There's this one time where where you weren't really. We were trying to call for you to do it, and then you weren't responding, and then you're like, "Sorry, I'm drinking my grape soda" or something like that. It was really funny. Um.
I think it was a root beer. It's just like, oh
Yeah.
frick, my root beer. Hold on a second.
All right.
But yeah, I've gotten a lot better.
Gotten a
Like
lot better with it.
all out of all the strengths I have, that's probably my number one strength in
All right.
Overwatch is all tracking.
Nice. Have we? So on top of old tracking, there's like kind of two other things that go along with just saying they have these ultimates. There is looking to counter those ultimates, and there's also the fight planning part where we also look to use our ultimates. Have you looked to get into any of that stuff at all, or no?
Oh man, no, I haven't because I mainly been a shot caller
Mm,
on either teams or even in comp where like the most I'll do is call out what ultimates they have, and
mm.
then someone else in the team, usually one of the tanks, will say, "Okay, we're gonna do this."
Mm, yeah. So I'd probably say in ranked, it can be a really good idea to just learn the skill, and then that means that also is just another tool in your arsenal for if you're ever on another team and they want you to do that. Like if somebody else takes ult tracking over, right, and they want a fight planner, if they want something else like that. But fight planning and And especially, I'd probably say another big one is just paying attention to not just saying the ult, but also how do we counter the ult, right? Because if we just say, "Hey guys, they have Grav Dragon," and we don't have Trance, um, if we just say they have Grav Dragon, then that doesn't really convey any other extra information,
Oh,
right?
okay. Actually, just like there was a game I had today where I knew the other team had both a Dragon Blade and a Grav,
Hmm.
but they also had Hanzo Walt, so I knew they would most likely just do Blade and then Hanzo Grav.
Hmm.
And so with my BAP, I said, okay, I'm going to trance the Blade, and we're going to Immortality Field the Hanzo Walt
Very
because I
nice. Yep.
knew. Yeah, so I told him that, and then the bat proceeded to ignore me and died to the Dragon Blade after he jumped out of my trance.
Unfortunate. Yep. So that's the type of thing that you want to look to do. So like I guess let's
Yeah.
do a hypothetical here. Um,
Okay.
what do we do in this situation if they have Grav Dragon and we don't have Trance?
Um, if we don't have a bat, are we talking about in this game?
In this game, yep.
Okay. So what we want to do, pos- uh, what we want to do positions wise, is that we need. I will probably tell my Doomfist to try to either like go up against the dive the Hanzo, and have Orion push up just a little bit farther ahead, so that way he can take the Grav if
Hmm.
they get it out.
Yeah. So a easy way to like kind of call that and that really counters a couple different ultimates, like such as Shatter, Grab, and Sigma Flux, is you tell your team. Sorry, excuse me, I did a cough there. Is
That's
you
fine.
tell your team, stay split, right? When your
Yeah,
team is spread out, Grav can't get you all right, and therefore it's most likely just going to catch the tanks. And as you just said, if it's only catching Reinhardt, that becomes a lot easier to pocket than, and it's only killing one person versus killing your entire team, right? So that's a pretty easy call out that's going to counter Grav a lot of the times. Now let's do the same exact example. This one is like a little complex, right? Same
okay.
exact example that you just said in your last game. So they have a Grab Dragon, Nano Blade, but let's say you don't have a Baptiste. You just have Trance. What do we do?
We just have Trance. Hmm. So if I if I remember correctly, we had a Reinhardt on the other team. We had, what I would tell is that I would save Trance for I would save Trance for Nanoplate because it's like most of the time. Because most of the time, from what I've seen as you get higher up, a Nanoblade does with a good Genji is more efficient than a Hanzo grab. So we would play split. We would play split on the. We would play together. We would play together if when they're going to Dragon Blade. But as soon as like my trance starts to end, or it's like his blade starts to end, we would spread out. So that way it doesn't give their Zarya a chance to get a big grab into
How
Hanzo ult.
how do you know what order they're going to start in?
Hmm.
How do you know they're not going to come in with the Grab Dragon first?
Okay, let me backtrack for a second. Yeah, I was saying that it's like
Mhm,
that wasn't wrong. That honestly depends on what comes in order because
mhm,
I'll probably trance first, for whichever one they have. If
mhm.
they grab Dragon first, I transfer that. If they Nano Blade first, I transfer that.
All right.
And
Go ahead. That we can finish.
and then when they finish off, we can play. When they finish off, we can play the position the way accordingly.
Mhm. All right. So I would probably say that the number one easiest thing to look at there is what other ultimates do you have in your team? Because about half of the ultimates in the game are able to counter Blade, and half the ultimates in the game cannot counter Grab Dragon. So, for
Okay.
example, take most of the tank ults, right? Grab
Yeah.
counters Blade, Shatter counters Blade, Flux counters Blade. You can use Mines to zone off a Blade. Not as effective, right? Now I'm looking at
Yeah.
some other ones. Especially if they have a nano. McCree and Soldier can both counter Blade with a High Noon and Advisor. Junkrat Tire can one shot a Blade. Right, you have a bunch of different ults that can zone out a Blade, such as mine, such as May ult. Right. So you have a lot to work with when it comes to
Okay.
Blade. Let's take those same ultimates. Is a Grav gonna counter a Grav Dragon?
No.
Is a Flux gonna do that?
No.
Not
so
really.
you want to, if I'm playing Zen, then I want to trance for the Hanzo Graph, and
Yep.
then see what ultimates we've had to counter the Dragon Blade.
Yeah, and then we want to make that the point of it is we want to call that out before the fight starts, right? That's I probably say even more importantly, like if you're looking to just get better at your ult tracking, that's the second step that comes after. Is not just saying they have this, but also let's counter these ultimates like this, right? You tell your team this is what we're going to do, right? Rather than
Okay.
just stating it, you say this is the plan of how we're going to counter it. So before the fight's happening, we're looking at our ults and going, okay, they have Grav Dragon Nano Blade. Hey Zarya, you make sure that you grab the blade, right? And then I'm gonna
Yeah.
transfer the Grav, right? That way we have a plan in place and we can hopefully see it through. If we've called that out clearly and concisely, and she's in chat and she doesn't do it, then that's fine. We did all we could, and at that point, we're just looking to build good habits because if people don't respond, that's on them.
Okay.
Right. So
Yeah.
now we'll take this to. We'll go through this game and look at some scenarios where coming up on looking like they are going to have possibly a Grab Dragon here before we get to use Trance. So we just tell our team stay split. Like you said, we can also look to whenever we know that we're at a significant ult disadvantage. So here, right, we're down. We have one single ult. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 and 6. Right? So they're very much higher than us on ults. The other thing we can do besides just taking a dry fight and just saying like, hey, don't use anything here or use like just dragon, is get super aggressive, right? Even if we're trying to take a dry fight, because when we get super aggressive, then that even if we let's say we just had 1 or 2 ults, if we get aggressive with those ultimates, then now we get picks and we get the advantage. And now if they use their ults, they get less value because they have less players to follow up on those ultimates. On top of that, they're just we can roll over them before they even get a chance to use those ultimates effectively, right? So playing aggressively can also be a good idea here if we're trying to go in, and that can bait out a ton of ultimates. Means that they, on top of that, like when we're looking to just take a dry fight and the less value their ults get, that means that they have to use more of them. So even if we end up losing here, us playing aggressively and getting them to use 4 ultimates is better than us playing passively and then them only needing to use 1 or 2. Right.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Nothingness.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 1, 2, 3, 4. So pretty much even here. They land the grab. People are low. Okay, good trance. Honestly, so far trances seem pretty solid. Probably one of the ultimate usages looks like one of the better parts of our kit. Though we did have that one other time where we ended up messing it up. But it looks like we do have a decent awareness of when that's good to use.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a fantastic fight for us. We used 2 ults. They used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ults. All right. Very fantastic. So looking very solid. And now here they don't have anything that we need to worry about. When they have absolutely nothing, that can sometimes even give us more time to work on planning if they are coming in with 1 single trance. Like it's not like we have to really worry too much about countering that, right? And there's gonna be a bunch of ults in the game that aren't really very powerful. Like right now, they don't have. I would probably say they don't have any ultimates that we're gonna need to save on the trance for, right?
Yeah.
So we use it very situationally. We use it whenever we need to, and then that also means that ult tracking becomes slightly less important and we can put some effort into some other areas. Right.
That was also my bad. Was like I heard a call out that
Mhm.
Hog's going right, but I completely ignored it.
Yep. On top of that, just the general audio awareness and making sure we're also paying attention to it. So just another awareness issue. So it does look like awareness is um looking like a thing that needs to be worked on as well. I think we've had a good. We watch her HUD, we watch kill feed. I think in general the awareness that needs to be worked on is the in-game awareness of people's positions, enemies' positions, teammates' specifically enemies' positions and teammates' positions,
Yeah.
right? Because we want to make sure that we're not just tunnel visioning on the one thing that we're shooting at. We're not just always staring at a crosshair. We're not always looking in one direction, doing a slow pan around, right? We want to make sure that we're looking left and right. We're checking high grounds. We're doing sweeps. That we're doing a 360 once in a while, checking what's up with our team. And awareness a lot of the times can seem like a pretty odd area to look to improve on. It can be pretty vague on how do I get better at this, right? But it's really good. Were you gonna say something?
No,
Oh,
I was just saying good.
yeah. But it's really the same way that you improve on anything that you're looking to get better at. In you make sure you focus on it, right? And this is how you get better at anything and you get more consistent with anything is you make sure that you're focusing while you play. The easiest way to not improve or to even decline is to autopilot while you play, to just focus on winning rather than to focus on improving. When your focus is on winning rather than improving, then you end up never improving. And when you focus on improving, then now you're getting better, and then also as a result, you are winning, right? So while we play,
Okay.
we want to make sure that our focus is on awareness, 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 right? And we're going, look around us, pay attention, make sure we're using our ears, right? And we're giving ourselves constant reminders. And when you give yourself constant reminders, you're going to notice that your awareness is a little bit better than usual. And when you do that continuously, then it forms a habit, right? And when that habit
Yeah.
is formed, now you no longer have to repeatedly remind yourself and put your focus and attention into it. Then once you've gotten better with it, you move on to a different area, and that's how you look to get consistent with things and work on things. Um, Now, on top of that, just make sure you're not trying to focus on everything that we're talking about here all at once, because that can get very confusing and overwhelming. Is if you're trying to focus on 20 different things at the same time. Instead, focus on 1 to 3 things. Particularly, usually, like if they're in the same category or if they're, similar, right? That way you're just not spreading yourself too thin. That all makes sense?
Yeah.
Right, so here we get hooked by hogs, skip. Actually, no, is this a different fight?
I think it was a different fight because the other team had a lot of elements. It's that.
It's right
Yeah,
here.
it's the fight right here. So then I get
Yep.
hooked and skewered right there. Yeah, we turned the fight back
Mm.
because we used rally and earth shatter, and they didn't have any ultimates to counter it, so we were able to win the fight.
All right. Yeah, just a lot more body shots. Okay, here we're walking a little bit off on our own, right? Make sure we're watching where our teammates are positioned. Um,
Yeah,
we're doing this a little bit of a wide peak. Remember, good positioning is the usage of cover in general, right? Bad positioning is the absence of cover. So we want to make sure that when we're kind of peeking over here, we're still using cover and we're on this inside angle where we can duck in half of a second, go like this, boom, they can't see us, right? Rather than doing a wide
yeah,
peak, because then we have a lot less cover and we just get shot at. Here we lose sight of where our brig goes and our Hanzo climbs over the wall, and now we all of a sudden are left on our own just because we're again not being aware of where the characters on the map are, right?
yeah.
Results in us dying, right? just a lot of unnecessary deaths that come from mainly positioning and awareness.
Gotcha.
There is disquiet in your souls. Nothing.
So we see it as last fight. Prig gets headshot. Ryan charges off into nothingness and off the map. Not too terrible of a time to trance. I think we're trying to chase Ryan in and help him out.
Yeah.
So I think,
Wait, I got can you go, actually, can you go back? I was
yeah.
distracted for a second. What
Mhm.
was the play going as?
Yeah, so
So, yeah.
coming in here, it's unfortunate two of us got headshot right off the bat by Hanzo. Or two of us got killed by Hanzo. Reinhardt charges in, so
Yeah.
I think this is honestly fine. We see balls on top of us. We don't have anybody else here with us. And we're trying to go in and save Reinhardt, who we know we just pinned in.
Yeah. So I was thinking, hoping he hit the elephant
Yeah.
butt, but he didn't. He charges him off the map.
That
Oh,
that's
no, he
that's
doesn't. He didn't. He's still alive. He's still on.
Yep. That's funny too, though. I didn't realize that you just pinned straight over this.
Yeah, I thought I was going to hit that.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh no, I have to get out of here.
Right. More just examples across our placement, right, as we come up here
Yeah.
on the McCree. I really like that at the end of our trances we get to save positioning, so that's really good. Just coming out here, looking at his feet, right, looking at his body, right, just below head level, and then that just means that if we even hit those shots, they're now body shots, right?
Yeah.
All right, skip. Oh, didn't mean to skip that time. All right, so we saw
Yeah.
the Baptiste.
So yeah, this one. So it's like this is probably one of the bigger examples. It was just like knowing of knowing when to switch, because like I felt like I feel like last game was just like the reason we lost is that it was the Hanzo got some good shots. I felt like we stayed the same, but then it was we decided, and then like I think it was like one of the tanks. That was a Reinhardt who said, "I'm not sure Brig and Zen are enough heals," so we switch over to Lucio Bap, but then we just get rolled
Yeah.
on this map. So it's one of those things where like I don't know when is the good time to switch. When's
Yeah.
a good time to switch?
Well, typically in ranked, Lucio, Zenyatta Brig is not a very good composition. That's only really good in team play, and only if you're running like a dive or a spam. It's not going to work really too well with a Reinhardt because very, very low healing output for a character that's looking to take a lot of damage. So I would agree that that's not really a strong comp for Reinhardt, though I don't know if that was directly the problem.
Okay.
The problem that we struggled with a lot was just the fact that we ended up getting picked quite a bit, and that was really one of the big issues there. And then obviously Hanzo got some picks in the last fight. Last fight wasn't too much of our problem there.
Yeah.
Here I probably say just in general, Lucio's not very good at the moment. He's probably like the worst support you could pick, so that could be a problem on the Lucio. Like that could be a team comp thing. You can just say like, "Hey, Lucio's not very good at the moment," especially if he's not a Lucio one trick, right? If they're not a Lucio
Yeah.
one trick, just say like, "Hey, Lucio's not fantastic." You can go like Zenyatta, Brig, right? Either or would be fine here. And then now you just have a little bit better of a character with more utility. But I think Baptiste is fine here if you play Baptiste
Yeah. It's
regularly.
like it wasn't so much like I knew Baptiste was a good hero right now. It's more of just like just not letting myself just like, okay, I'm going back, but I'm not sure if this is gonna work. It's just like that
Yep.
kind
Not confident in the
feeling.
choice.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think Bap is completely fine here in this composition. I'd probably say if anything, Lucio's not the best. And then Doomfist is gonna have pretty minimal healing as well.
Okay.
Alright, so we come out. Alright, you just got booped around a little bit.
I know, it's like I got booped by a ball and I got booped after. It's like, okay, I guess this just happened.
Yep. Whenever you throw lamps,
Use cornered, yeah.
exactly right. Or just in
That-
general, it doesn't have to be corners. It's just any bit of cover, right? The same thing that
Yeah.
applies to you that we were just talking about. Usage of covers, good positioning. Absence of covers, bad positioning. That's even more to an extreme with a lamp because lamp needs to not just be
Yeah.
next to cover but behind cover, right? So just this thing like right here means that it stays alive much longer. So unless somebody is like about to die and you can they're nowhere near cover, you want to make sure it's close to something. Here Reinhardt's very much within this distance. On top of that, I don't think he's necessarily in that health range or in immediate danger to where he's going to blow up within 0.5 seconds, right? We have a second to line this up a little bit better. Right, so he loses barrier, he's critical, so we see it. We just have an extra, we just want to make sure that it's on the corner. Because it pretty much immediately goes down, right, and then it loses value.
Yeah.
My target. The objective is now.
Okay.
Probably should not have jumped there because of the McCree was shooting at me.
Here we're just getting bullied a tiny little bit. Look to just make sure we're not standing out in the open. Here there's not a whole lot of cover we can go for, but if our team's rotating this way, we can look to rotate ahead of them and be over here to now where now there's a lot less people on top of us. If we're over here, we could go over here to this doorway, right? Be playing inside of this way, and now we're behind cover. We're not taking as much damage. Here we're kind of out in the open on our own again. Once again, being caught out of position and then just being bullied just because we're on our own. So just want to make sure that we're on the same page of where our team's rotating. Make sure we're not out in the open, and then other than that, they kind of surrounded us there.
Yeah.
Not my time. Not you good as you. You all look like you needed some healing.
Right.
Yeah. I thought it would be better, but then he just stayed there, and I thought he was gonna back out, so I was able to use immortality. But I don't know, like where it's like I go in there with the speed, and it's just Diva and I right there taking on a ball.
They use ball came in, and it looks like it, and Lucio's not on the same page as us. McCree's not on the same page as us. Doomfist isn't anywhere close to being back yet, so you just want to make sure that, especially Doomfist, it looks like is out of range of the fight. So you just want to make sure we're not walking in too early here, without him. But yeah, using Immortal to save our lives there is fine. There when we can look to charge up a jump when we're immortality, so that right as it ends, we can like leap out of range maybe and get to high ground, get to a little bit more safety. That's just an idea that you can look to go for if you have no other option here. But here, I think we're kind of out of sync with our team, us and Diva, and they were just we weren't really on the same page. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention again, being aware of, make sure we're checking behind us, check where everyone's at. I think especially Doomfist was out of range, but then also everyone else was distracted by Ball, who came in mind. So we just want to make sure we're paying attention to that.
Gotcha.
Right. Now here, they were ult tracking. They have a bunch of ults. We don't. To be honest, none of those we have to pay too much attention to. Just let our team know that they have them, so they can look to dodge a bomb and whatnot. Here we have Beat and Lamp. We just want to make sure that we're not overlapping those, so that could be something we're communicating. Alrighty. So why don't we actually let's watch one more fight here. I want to see how we use our ult.
Yeah. I know out of all the with Bab, what the heck?
I
with
really click pause.
No, it's fine. With Bab, definitely my ult is just the knowing when it's a good time to use my ultimate.
Yeah.
Because even after like how long he's been out, like 6 months almost, or even longer than that, I still am having trouble understanding good ult placement and ult timing.
So timing usually is just going to be at the very, as with any ult, unless it's a defensive ultimate, you're using pretty much any ult as soon as you're able to use it at the very start of fights, right? That way, like I was talking about before, they get ultimates that are used first get more value. You don't want to use it too early before the fight's even started, because then they can just wait it out and back up. But if we're using it right as the fight is starting, then that means that, for example, enemy team, let's say they have a BAP, if they window first then they get kills, they get damage in, they put pressure, they get more space, and therefore they have an advantage. That means that if we
Okay.
use window second, we are already down players and already down health, which means that we cannot capitalize on it as much, and we're going to get less value out of it. And even if we get picks with it, us being down 2 people means that 2 people is now putting us even rather than putting us at an advantage, right? So we
Yeah.
want to make sure that we're using it before they use their ults, because we're going to also use first to get more value. So timing with it, honestly, this is pretty good timing, but the problem is that we don't... Oh, this is not the right fight. Where did we ult before here? No, that's first fight. Where the...
The
I
first
guess
fight.
we died there.
We
and then we
died.
come
We
back,
died
yeah.
with. I died with alt, and then we go over here.
Let them up.
Yeah, okay, so...
And then I used it. I used it when the point. On the point. So
Yep.
it's like I thought everyone was moving the point, and I was just placed it down right here to clear the point out.
Yep.
But apparently that's not.
So good timing with it. The problem is the placement, right? We don't pay
Yeah.
it again. I'd probably say the biggest thing here is just paying attention to where the players on the map are. If there's absolutely nobody to shoot at through here, then this is a wasted lamp, right? Instead, maybe it just might be a little bit better is over here, right? Now we're placing it here in front of our team. We can shoot at 2 people versus 0 people, and then once McCree runs on the corner, right? Now that's 3. Again, 2 people, right? So we just want to make sure that we're placing it where there's people that we can shoot at, right? That's the problem with this one, is that there's just absolutely nobody to shoot at, and that means it just gets wasted value, right?
Gotcha.
All right, now we talked about that for a little bit. So we're running a little bit behind. We're going to get into just the recap, right? Main points to
Yeah.
work on. Just a quick review. Overall, we went over mainly Zenyatta. Orb usage, pretty fantastic. No problems with orb usage. Transcendence, just a little bit of consistency, but most of the trances that I saw us use were pretty good. Just want to make sure that, when we're looking for the most optimal situations to use it. So when they don't have any ults we
Yeah.
need to hold on to it for, we're using it when we have like we're trying to save a couple people at a time. So using it to save one individual person isn't going to get as much value as looking to save multiple people, because multiple people is better than one person, right?
Yeah.
So just using it to save a diva mech maybe isn't the most value you could have gotten out of it. Now on from there, we have, let's see, mechanics. Mechanics is one of the ones that just needs a little bit of work, especially with basically the big one just being crosshair placement. Make sure we're aiming head level. Make sure we're aiming where we know people are going to be at. Other than that, pretty solid, decent mechanics. Positioning and awareness being the biggest ones that we want to work on. Awareness, we have good. We watch our HUD well. We pay attention to kill feed for the most part. And the big thing is that we just want to pay attention to where everyone on the map is positioned, because a lot of the time we end up forgetting where our team's at, where the enemy team's at, and we're not really paying attention too much. So look around you, look left, look right, do 360s, use your audio, right? Pay attention to what your team's up to. Especially when you're about to push in, do a quick, look around, where's everyone at, right? Make sure they're all with you before you're rushing into the fight, right?
Yeah.
And then that's gonna, when you have better awareness, you are able to make better decisions. When you are unaware of what's happening around you, you are incapable of making good decisions, right? You can't make a good decision if you have no clue what's happening, right? So look up your awareness and you'll be making much better decisions. Positioning, when they're on a dive, make sure staying with your team. We kind of ran off on our own a couple times. Make sure that you are playing next to corners and using cover, and you're not walking out into the open. And in general, Zenyatta is a pretty passive character, and he does have no mobility, no defensive ability. So make sure we're playing a little passive, a little bit safer, especially when we know that they have a lot of things that can contest us, like a ball, for example, and a diva, and they're on dive too, right? So just make sure we're being safe, we're not getting too aggressive, and we're paying attention to when we die, right? Because those are really good instances where we can improve on. Now, moving on from that, just Baptiste. I only saw pretty much like one. I didn't see too much of his kit, right?
Yeah.
Lamp, though, just look. The big thing is just place it behind cover. The timing I liked with it, just make sure you're placing around corners and using objects with it. Window, make sure again we're paying attention to positioning of where the enemy team is at and where your team is at, so that we can place a good window where it's actually going to hit something, right? Besides that,
Yeah.
just timing is right as the fight begins.
Double kill.
As long as we have it, right? Anytime a fight's not been won or lost, we're just using it at the beginning.
Yeah.
On from there, no real problem with her shift usage, and I didn't see too much of that. And then same thing with positioning and awareness is just stay with your team, make sure you're not wandering off on your own, and that we're paying attention to our surroundings. We also talked about some just ult stuff. Don't just call out. It's fantastic that you've gotten better with that, right? With ult tracking, but just make sure we're not just saying, "Hey, they have ults," but then you're also adding on to that, they have ults, let's do this, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to go into you can always add that into your kit, but you don't have to go fully into depth on fleshing out your entire plan, right? That's a separate thing, right? It's separate
Yeah.
to say let's use a bunch of these ultimates this way, right? That's something you can add on if you want to, but a really fantastic good start to that, I would say, is just saying, hey, they have these ults, let's counter it this way, right? That way we have a plan. We're not just wandering around knowing that they have ultimates, right?
Okay.
Main points, probably say that positioning and mechanics top the charts, being number 1 and 2, or just 1 equally or something like that. They're very close. So let's just put them tied at number 1. Number 2 is going to be our let's see, that's going to be our mechanics, and then number 3 is going to be ultimate usage, and then number 4 is ability usage. Really good on the ability usage, and ultimate usage is just a little bit, tiny bit inconsistent, and then mechanics is right about in the middle, where it just needs, it's doing decent just in general, but you do want to make sure you're practicing, especially hitting headshots. All right.
Yeah.
Any questions on anything we've gone over?
Well, you answered all my questions, so I
Alrighty.
think we're good.
Then I'm gonna end the recording here. So